Hi students, we are going to talk about the 6 persimmons and asymmetrical balance. So 6 persimmons is a 13th century Japanese ink drawing, and the idea of asymmetrical balance is represented in this image really well. So today I want to show you this image and break it down and show you how asymmetrical balance works in this image. Many Japanese paintings from this time period show asymmetrical balance, so I would really encourage you guys to go and look and try to analyze the artwork on your own. So the first thing we're going to do is create some axes to split the artworks in 2 sections. So the first one that we're going to do is the horizontal axis so that we can compare the top part with the bottom part. So we have created 2 sections out of this artwork, and we have a couple of things that are going on. So the top half has a darker, wider upper border and a lot of blank space, and it is balanced out by a thin lower border on the bottom section with some centered persimmons. Okay, and you might say that blank space is just a bunch of air or it's nothing, but having a contained space like this rectangle here can have a large impact on the weight of an artwork. And when I talk about weight, it's more about a visual weight. Okay, so here the top half of the painting is balanced with the bottom half here. Okay, now we're going to do a vertical axis, which you will see that there are several examples of creating that visual weight. Okay, and as you can see, there are 6 persimmons, and that's the title of the artwork. But we're going to go ahead and start comparing each of the persimmons and see how the artist balanced each one out compared to the one on the opposite side of it. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is number 1 and number 6. So the stems are pointed at opposite directions, as you can see. Number 1 is pointing to the left, number 6 is pointing to the right, which kind of creates this like anchor to the edges of the page. Okay. The first one is slightly lighter. As you can see, the outline of the persimmon is slightly lighter than the one on the right. They're both pretty light, as in they only have a little gesture showing the outline of the piece, but you can kind of see that this one is a little bit smaller, but it's a little bit darker on this side. This one's a little bit taller, kind of a little bit higher too. It kind of pulls the page towards the top a little bit, but the outline is a little bit lighter. And number 6 also is partially hidden behind number 5 to kind of lighten it up a little bit more. So that's how these two are balanced. Now we're going to look at 2 and 5. So number 2 and 5, the biggest difference between them is that number 2 is shown to be clearer and a little bit lighter. Compared to number 5, it is drawn in a more blurry way. It almost looks like a shadow, and it's a lot darker. Okay, so the clarity of something pulls your attention to it versus the darkness of something pulls your attention to it. Okay, so they're kind of like balancing each other out in that way. And then finally, we're looking at 3 and 4. 3 is significantly lowered on the page, so it kind of pulls down the page a little bit, right? It kind of creates that weight, like it's pulling down. And then number 4 is obviously a lot larger, and it's really dark to balance out that weight, right? It's not pulling down the page on this side, but it is attracting your eye towards it, and it's dark and it looks heavy. Okay, and then we can't forget the borders. There's a wider left border versus a skinnier right border, but to balance that out, all the persimmons are slightly moved to the right a little bit, so they're off center, and that creates that like balance between them. Okay, so these are several ways that the artist created asymmetrical balance. Lightness and darkness is one thing. Placement is another thing. Something having more detail versus being more blurry. Placement as in like things that are on the page. Are they towards the bottom or are they towards the top? Is something larger and darker versus is it off center? So that also kind of goes along with the placement as well. So definitely play around with all of these ideas to create asymmetrical balance.